You're listening to the Unreasonable Fridays Podcast Network.
Go ahead, stand up, stand up, stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of AddSpace. I'm your host, Aaron Rand Freeman, but the actual host, the CEO, CFO, social media director, art director, head therapist, payroll maven, and travel czar, Elise Bacon. Bacon, how are you?
Get off my desk!
Your cat is high, so your cat's not be paying you no mind. Your cat's not paying you no mind.
She's fine, but she's also discovered my desk, and it's been a thing. And she's high, which makes it even harder to regulate.
Well,
everybody. I'm here.
What did you have to give your cat?
So I have to give her gabapentin because she's got the arthritis because she's the olds, and I usually give it to her twice a day, about anywhere from 10 to 12 hours apart. But my not awake self, just out of habit, added it into her breakfast. So there's a little bit of an overlap. It's perfectly safe. She's fine. It is below the dose that my vet even gives her for anxiety visits. So it's fine. But she's a little high, which makes it so she also can't really remember time schedules very well. And she's being obnoxious.
I mean,
Hello.
She's high, baby.
She is very high.
Oh, that's cool. Have her on the show next. After our guest, the writer, social commentator, thought leader, observer, activist, creator, game critic, author, and speaker, Jeffrey Rousseau. Sir, how are you? Welcome to the program.
Hi. What's going on? I'm happy to be here once again to talk to you both, see your beautiful faces and talk about games. Thank you for having me.
Marvelous.
Thank you for being here.
Fantastic. Thank you for dealing with me. So, full disclosure, I'm turning into a vampire, and you know how long that process is. It's not like you don't snap into place. You got you're bedridden for a long time, and I'm still in the process of turning into a vampire, and yeah. So we were supposed to record yesterday, and did not because I could not get out of bed or maintain consciousness. I have a cold for the first time. I hadn't been sick in several years, and I have a cold because Erica's white coworkers hate masks and love schmoozing, and brought home a cold that hit me hardest because I hadn't been sick in so long, and my immune system instituted martial law on my body, and decided to take this opportunity to fix several issues that are unrelated to having a cold. So I was just in bed doing the sweats and the fidgets that people do when they're turning, and they go, "Doctor, what's happening to me? Just settle down, sir. Settle down." That type of deal. So we're here now, though, and thank you for being patient with me, Jeffrey Bacon. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And thank you for being here with my cat.
Your cat's just high, baby. It's Sunday. Jesus fucking God did the same thing. That's what do you think rest meant?
No.
I think it was high, bro.
Okay, I'll accept God being high.
I think it was high. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was high, and then he woke up, and he was high, and then he was like, "Let me get some brunch." So, I mean, don't let me go down this rabbit hole. I have a whole story.
I'm not.
My favorite bit. My favorite bit is when
this hole.
My favorite bit is when people who I didn't realize object to that. Like they don't necessarily agree with my short stories about God on his day off, because I have several, and I've just been making them up for years. I have one ongoing.
I honestly didn't know that he'd been making them up for years.
Yes, I have one continuous story with Erica about God meeting a lovely woman named Tiana, a lovely black woman named Tiana on Saturday night. And spending his day off with her, getting to know her better, and having a really lovely romantic time where they just kind of spent the whole day kind of talking and walking around the city. And that was why he rested, because he met a fantastic black woman named Tiana. And he was like, fuck it, I'm going to take today off. I've worked 6 days in a row. She was like, yes, you have. Take some time for yourself. And he did. And that was Sunday. So, again, I have lots of these. I'm going to stop now, though. What are we doing for the show? I don't know. I'm a vampire. I don't know anything about anything but vampire stuff. So
I think this show started from how some shows start. An increasing number of shows have and start from arbitrary random discussions that break out in the podcast. I mean, in the podcast Discord. Yes, that was the correct language to use. Sorry, Cat. Yeah, and so I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, because of the way that happens when I have the conversations, is that something gets said and then I just start doing paragraphs, so I don't always remember what the conversation is or how it started or how we got there. But y'all who listen to the show are used to this. It does not just happen on the show. It happens literally everywhere. It's how the show even formed. So I will have to rely on Aaron and the Mr. Rousseau. I just like saying your last name. To help figure out where this started. What was the starting point? How did we get here?
I forget who said what first exactly, but basically,
was it the chicken or the egg?
Oh, we were talking about the weird response where when a lot of games come out, where it seems to be this great burden. Like it becomes a thing where the like games media will then regard it as this great burden that they have to buy.
To be fair,
play.
it is a huge burden on them.
Yes and no. I mean, I don't know. That's where Jeffrey would come in, because I do not. I guess I could. Yeah. I do not know. So is it a great burden?
So the whole phenomenon that we see often about like a quote unquote packed month release slate, and then we've seen people say, "Oh no, my wallet," for God knows how long on the internet, right? The thing about that is there are a number of ways to look at that. So professionally, from like what I do, like business journalism, when I look at that, I'm like, I one thing comes to mind immediately is that the PR machine that these companies build and like have going are like incredible, because you have a release. I'm thinking specifically of January, right? Because like January next month is going to have the next chapter of Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Is going to have like Persona Reloaded and some other games I'm forgetting, but that doesn't really matter. And then, people are worried about that then, and even this October, you have what? The new Mario, Spider-Man, you have what? Alan Wake, you have Assassin's Creed, some other games I'm forgetting, right? And
Alan Wake out of that one.
True. And what I think about is that these PR machines that these companies build and maintain is like, for one, the PR people who get paid to do what they do, they need higher salaries. Well, technically everyone does, because we're a podcast that advocates for that. So anyway, there's that, right? Like your thing is like, damn, you're getting people excited that months in advance for this stuff. And then people always, and the other part of it I think of as well is that people feel that they quote unquote have to get all these things, right? And that's another cog in the wheel that I step back and think, when I read these reports and I think about like unit sales, the thing that Bacon reminds us of is that most people do not finish games. People just buy things, or you have Game Pass where you have the ability to play what's available if you have time. But it's always fascinating to me that people always say I have to engage with all these things when, and that's why I wanted to talk with everyone and you know, share your thoughts and then we can bounce off each other, is that people feel compelled. Again, this is like the work of the PR machine and appealing to people's different tastes, what they like, new things they might want to try. And it's that constant, oh, I gotta do all these things. I'll tell you right now, I've been playing the same one game, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, for nearly a month now, and like I haven't really been playing anything else. In fact, I'm trying to like cut back on buying so many games because like doing my job specifically, I just think about there's a lot of money that's made that could go elsewhere to like different kind of games, not necessarily like AAA. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation. But it's the fact that I always got to plug in. It's like, huh? No, you don't. What?
Listen, FOMO is also a whole thing. Like folks really be dictating their lives on FOMO. And that's a whole trip too. And I get that, especially like when games are like more multiplayer, because like you want to play with your friends. So you want to like enjoy the game while it's new with your friends while your friends are still playing it so you can engage with them. But like if you ain't got that money, or if there's like other stuff you would rather like you want to do, it like that there's a time on that. What I was talking about, like like on a professional level, I'd be thinking about these reviewers that clearly be hating their job, and I'm like, I bet they'd be.
I have something to say about that. Yeah,
I bet they'd be looking at these releases, being like, God, no, please stop. Yeah, because like that's one of the things too that it's actually one of the things like very early in the podcast that we started noticing with like reviewers is that it's like it's clearly like it's not just that the reviewer doesn't like the game, like it's like the reviewers very much not having fun and is reviewing the game off of the fact that they're not having fun, which valid. But like it's like it was less of like a critique on the game, if that makes sense. Like it's less of like a critique and more of like I just hate this. Just like, honey, you're playing the wrong genre.
Yeah, the Polygon review of Mortal Kombat 1 was like that. That person was complaining about like Mortal Kombat basic combat fundamental staples for the past 20 odd years. And I was just like, ooh, you don't want to be there. Ooh, I'm so sorry. Your job requires you to play Mortal Kombat for 25 hours. Because you seem like you profoundly hated the experience of just playing a Mortal Kombat game. I'm so sorry for you.
Yeah, there were a few of those where like we're reading them and it's like this got a bad review and I'm like, this isn't their game. Like this isn't even like review level. This is just like they really are unhappy playing this game.
And it's like it's reviewers, and then I always wonder. And you know, it's the weird thing, and this just came to mind, is that the average gamer will parrot the points made by an encumbered professional game reviewer. And that always bugs me the most. Like, you don't play as many games. You're not tasked with playing them professionally. You're not tasked with writing them. So why are you expressing the fatigue that this person who clearly has a different relationship with these games have? And that's always been like, it's like the opinion on games now comes from people who have a different relationship with games than us. And for some reason, we are very comfortable with parroting those opinions. It's like when streamers get tired of a game, like someone who plays like Destiny every day will have a different opinion of it. They play it 19 times more than you. You can't have the same opinion of it as they do because it's their literal job and they need a vacation. You know what I mean? It's just it's just very interesting to see the fatigue of professional game reviewers then being translated to us, and we just like take that as our opinion of some of these games, and it's kind of like we just are. It's how we process the FOMO. We are willing to say anything to make sense of it, to like kind of either we complain about it, or we will take an opinion that doesn't apply to us as a reason to blow off something. And it's just, we're not taking joy in all these options. And, you know, and I get it. We're not trained to. Capitalism has us, you know, on the back foot, as well as many other reasons. So, but it was a thought that came into my head. It's just how we process FOMO is, messy boy.
That's a good point. The thing I've never been put in a position to review games on a major consumer site, but the thing about those is that oftentimes is that the publisher won't give them review copies well in advance. That seems reasonable. And it's still a lot of cases where like it's super short notice. You have to hit a deadline. The writer in question has to really buckle down. And as someone who has to meet deadlines weekly, that already stresses me out. And that tends to show different ways. Like, you know, you can ask Bacon and Aaron how that tends to show. It's like some days on Discord, I'll just be like, yo, what is Jeff on right now? I'm like, yo, I'm hopped up on caffeine and I need like a news story to like help me like put my thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Because I have to hit a deadline, you know, and specifically thinking about game reviews as well is just, it's also like, what is the website's relationship with that one publisher? Is it good? Is it bad? Whatever the case may be. It can't be too harsh.
Sorry.
Bacon's laughing for a reason. Laughing for a reason because websites have been blacklisted.
Kotaku and Ubisoft with anything.
Right.
Now with Nintendo because
you know. And
I'm listen. You promote a leaked copy of a first party game. I don't know what you're expecting.
I mean, I'm not one to judge what other websites do. It's just like, hey, whatever you choose to run, this what you choose to run, right? But to go back to the review part, it's like over the years I you know, and especially when a release slate is stacked. Reasonably, not most websites have the size to really tackle that. They'll probably have to use freelancers, but even then it's like still working under a deadline, you're still doing XYZ, and it's not fun. So in a lot of cases you're like giving work, it's like, hey, you got to do this or whatever. It's like, but this is not really my thing, but it's just a part of the job. Like, you know,
here, review a 200-hour game that you just got a review copy of 3 days before, and we need it the day that it releases publicly.
You know, that also doesn't help it either, because to Bacon's point, it's I don't want to say you're kind of cooking the Metacritic numbers when you do stuff like that.
Oh,
but
I mean, these 100%.
Yeah, but like these publishers, again, like they know what they're doing. It's a part of it. Just goes back to what I was saying, is that machine where you feel you're compelled to buy all these things. First of all, the type of individual, I'm gonna focus specifically on October. The type of individual who has the capita, access, and time, I'll be able to get all those major releases and play all of them is very, very small. All those games are not in direct competition with each other. That's another thing too. I always find interesting is that people have particular interest, right? Like Bacon, if you listen to this podcast regularly, Bacon loves stuff like Octopath Traveler. So if something like that pops up, Bacon's gonna be like, oh, you know, and curl the mustache because that's their bread and butter.
I'm a high fantasy junkie. It's horrible. Give
I wasn't
me
gonna say
narrative.
I wasn't gonna say it's horrible. I think that's good. You know, because Bacon knows what they like. And for myself, it's like I don't really care about anything else that's really coming out this year. Like the rest of the stuff I'll play eventually. But then it's like, oh yeah, Front Mission 2 is finally coming out in the States. I want to play that because again, I just want to see how politics was like written in early 2000 Square Enix development team, and how does that hold up today? Because in Front Mission 2, that's about like an army in occupied land. And if that sounds really interesting, or wait, what's going on with the news today? There's a reason for that, you know, that's my kind of thing, right? But anyway, the type of individual that has the money to get all these games and they don't even blink is very small. The type of individual that's gonna have the time to play all those things is also very small, because people just have things to do. You have to go to school, you work, take care of kids. You going out on dates, you know, whatever the case may be. The thing I find interesting is like there's like my business journalism brain is just like, okay, these PR machines are great because people are talking about these things constantly. There's like engagement. And then the more logical side of my head is just like, there ain't no way on earth you're going to download all of that on Game Pass and you're going to play all of that within an entire month. There ain't no way, you know? So it's like, I always find interesting, oh, my wallet, or where the time's going to go. It's like, be for real. I don't know why people feel like they have to say that. And when I'm in other Discords, I also notice that when people say that, and I reply to them, get this, I reply to them with, but why? They start short-circuiting. Why do you feel compelled? You have to get all this. Like, I understand if you get all this on Game Pass to play there, but why do you feel compelled that you have to do it immediately in October?
And the funny thing is if you can do that, like if you have the money to be because I consider it game collecting, because you're not going to beat all these games. You're just not. Statistically, you won't. But if you right, if you have the ability to get all these things, then shouldn't it be a joyous time? You got money. Like, you know, it's if you have you have the resources, have fun, be happy. Not all of us do. Celebrate. It's not a point of misery, not a point of concern or consternation or anything like that. You can do it. Have fun with it. I don't understand the high stress unless you're absolutely struggling to get even one of those things. And you're cobbling, like that's stressful. When you want something very badly in one thing and you have to cobble together the funds for one thing, that's stressful. But if you have it,
brain, I can have one thing and there's three things I want, but I can only afford
one. That's stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And what if I don't like it?
Right.
And that's a very real thing, because there's been case, and that happens. All of us are like, I know I've seen it on the Discord, myself included. We saw a thing, we did our research, we read. Baker was mentioning earlier how they like, you know, really read like the opinions of people who know what they're talking about, whatever. And you do all that. You get the thing, and it turns out to be a dud. Death's Door, that Crow game, whatever. That was fun, but that game has no map. And it's like, that's ridiculous. And it's like, once I saw that, it's like, I immediately uninstalled it. That was what, $20 down the drain. Scarlet Nexus, that Bandai Namco RPG. The visuals are nice, so whatever. You do cool stuff in battle, but the story was ridiculous. After 8 hours, I was just like, I'm in my late 30s. Why am I sitting here subjugating myself to this? I uninstalled it. And I was like $30 down the drain. You feel me? And I was just like, nah, like I need to stick to my stuff like Front Mission whenever that comes around. At least I can think about like real world politics and like writing that is surprisingly still up to snuff in 2023.
The nice part about Game Pass is that if I get a game like Astria Ascending, I just lost my time, which time is like actually my most valuable currency. Right. But I still get money for that time. So like that time wasn't going to nowhere. That time went to a review that went towards the podcast where I got to roast the game, and then multiple times, and then, you know, get a little bit of kickback from it. So for me, at the end of the day, it's still not bad. You know, the other dud for me was Destiny 2, which was a great disappointment. But again, the podcast, I get a little kickback for roasting it for years. So it's like even though it cost money, I got back money.
Right.
So that like it's not the worst. Like that sort of thing's not the worst for me. It though the feeling, because like I'm neurodivergent, and with neurodivergency, depending on what kind of neurodivergency you have, because everybody is different, and brains wired all differently, is like this turns out to be a dud can feel disproportionately worse to some folks, and like that is worse than the loss of time and the loss of money or the loss of anything. Is that like that letdown can feel real bad. But also, like, if you recognize that that's what's happening, a lot of people don't recognize that that's what's happening.
Ain't that the fucking truth?
I mean, to be fair, a lot of stuff is very extremely underdiagnosed. So a lot of people haven't had the opportunity or the resources or to know what they have or don't have. I know several people who think they're neurotypical, and I've got some news for them. They are very not. But yeah, like, so there's like it's just a very intense feeling, and like it can be for a variety of reasons, but like that is also something that people want to avoid feeling, and that's valid. Think finding out the reason why you're so stressed about which game you're gonna play next is valid. I get super stressed because I hate making decisions. I make decisions all day. I am tired of making decisions. I don't want to decide what's for dinner. I sent Aaron a screenshot of food I was gonna order yesterday. It was like from 4 different places, and I'm like, you choose.
I apologize. I fell asleep.
Yeah, you totally fell asleep.
I died. I apologize for. I'm sorry. I apologize.
With decisions.
I know. I apologize. I realized that when I woke up, because I was like, well, like I said, I was turning into a van. I did that thing where I reached over, and then I just kind of lost consciousness. I was reaching towards my tablet. I was like, bacon, please, the Hawaiian meal. I didn't make it though. It was very tragic. You had to make a decision.
It was awful.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and it did turn out to be the wrong decision, but it was okay.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
my stomach wasn't happy with it.
Mm.
Like it wasn't the food itself. It was just sometimes certain foods just don't agree with me.
Mm.
And sometimes those exact same foods will agree with me.
I have a question then. Do you think with the prevalence of undiagnosed neurodivergence that this entire general PR blitz style of like FOMO based advertising for all these games all at once, is this causes more harm than good? Like, who is this for? You know what I mean? So all these games are out and they cannibalize each other, and then the gamers are not very are put upon, and then they have to make all these decisions that they may or may not be comfortable with, and then they start lashing out, which is one of the things that's very prevalent is now that games that don't necessarily hit the mark will like have this incredible wave of backlash from people who were forced to deal with all this and then play something they wound up not liking. I'm just wondering, like, does this just harmful? And just like, is this like becoming just harmful on its face?
That speaks to a larger there's multiple ways to look at that question. So I'll try to talk about it in a few ways. So the current business model of what triple A publishers do, publishers who tend to have a larger slate of game releases, um, there's a strong argument that currently, as it functions, it's not very sustainable. I would agree to an extent, it's not.
Oh, it's absolutely not sustainable. It's not even sustainable for their production. They're dying.
Right. Because what happens is that operating on, we have to make sure our sales every quarter shows growth. That comes at some kind of, that comes at cost, but it's not always quote unquote good. However, they try to PR spin it. The other thing about that too is just that I will also argue that all games that tend to release within either a certain month or quarter, they're not necessarily in direct competition with each other, but people think so, which is very odd because the thing is, Alan Wake is not in direct competition with the newest Mario. It's not.
No.
They're two different markets.
Right?
No.
Right, exactly. Alan Wake is also not in direct competition with Spider-Man because again, that's a certain type of market, right? And you know, for these businesses, a quarter is, what is it, like 3 months? You know, so it depends on how well a game does within, you know, those 3 months after its release, and whether or not they're like, hey, they put out a piece say we sold however many copies, you know, and stuff like that. And the thing, what's really funny, if a game sells 1 million copies literally a year after its release, that's still a big PR news thing, right? Which again is just like, you know, that'll be a big deal for a publisher. Say it's like a smaller indie title, right? And say if it came out, it didn't do so well, but it's just chugging along, and then it hits like 1 million sales like 13 months after it came out. They're definitely going to put out a PR thing. They're definitely going to email people. They're definitely going to want interviews to talk about that kind of success, which I always find interesting, you know, because again, people just have spending patterns that aren't interesting. But knowing what I know and from what I've seen, there's of course always a big push with that. We want like that initial window when we come out to be really strong. And yes, a lot of PR, if you notice it, it's just like, oh, you got to get this thing. Like when we'll see folks and you notice too, like more companies are like doing contracts for like content creators. Like they do that for a reason, right? Because they know there's certain communities they're not too great at. Black people great at advertising too. You know what I'm saying? And you know, so yeah. So yes, I would argue that PR people, they are very smart. They are very knowledgeable of what they do. And when they create their PR cycles, they're very aware of the fact they want people to feel like, oh, I need this thing. I need this thing bad.
But if that goes south, the whole thing goes south. And it's like, isn't it like in the games that take...
I have a great answer to that about things go south, but go ahead.
Because the games that actually make the biggest splashes are always like random AA games that are released in the middle of the year.
It's because they're better.
Well, even if they are or not, it's like, it's clear that this whole PR crunch AAA collision of games FOMO activation thing has like, it's very risky. When the games that sell the most and the games that have the highest player count and the games that get all the streamers playing it and all that stuff, it's always just some vibey game, some vibey AA indie game released from March to August every year for the past 5 years. So it's like, clearly the success is no longer in this AAA schmaz collision time. It's just no longer there. And you run the risk of, like, Payday 3 is having this problem. Payday 3 had Payday 2, Payday 1 are vibey AA games people like. Payday 3 has come out on the back of Game Pass. It has come out as a AA plus game, you know what I mean? And it had server issues. So it meant that the people who paid $30 to play it extra, they had the early access thing, paid $30 to play it a few days early. And the servers were shot. I don't know how they're doing any better, but they shot the entire early access period. So, and people were mad, and they were more mad because Payday put its hand in the AAA schmoz collision FOMO action time. And again, you just run the risk of, and frankly, like I said, Payday is more popular than they were prepared for. So more people were on it than they were prepared for. That happens when you have an online game. More people hit the servers than you're prepared for. But when you are a part of this, you run the risk of getting a lot of negative press to start your game's release cycle. And it's just, what's the point? It's so dangerous that I don't understand the point of being a part of it. So, I don't know.
Bacon, you had a point before I get into that?
Nope. I had one and then I dropped it.
Okay. I think it depends on the type of game because Payday 3, like you said, is a game that definitely something that needs robust servers, which I always find interesting, like which online games that are quote unquote new that do really well for themselves. I don't think the new not FIFA has come out yet. I don't think so. No, it hasn't.
No, it
hasn't.
No, it hasn't. Okay.
I'm waiting.
I'm wondering, will those servers crash because of like all the push that they've put onto this new title? That's something I think about with that question that you asked. And the other thing too is like when things are hyped and they don't do well, I'll give like two examples. One of them is one that you're very familiar with, Callisto Protocol. Now that was something that we just saw kind of all over the internet. Now what happened? It didn't do so well. The head person he resigned, right? They had layoffs. And that happened right after they released the DLC, I believe, for the game.
Last DLC, yeah. And then
right.
And then they ended the story and then they collapsed the studio.
Right. So that's kind of what happens if things don't go well. Like I think of one of my favorite games that I played this year, like Season. That studio, it had problems before with leadership and like how people were being treated. That was already well known, but that game, despite how good it is, and more people should play games like that, especially with a Black femme lead. But like that studio, they like cut people because the game just didn't sell. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with marketing, whatever, but it just didn't sell. That's one example.
Sometimes, like, it's also sometimes just luck. Like, I'm gonna bring up Baldur's Gate 3. I'm gonna say it. It's not a good game.
Mm.
Ooh.
It in a couple of years when like shit's it hits that as people have been calling it, it hits that definitive edition. Like, yeah. Like, but like, I'm not kidding. Act 3 is really bad.
That's a spicy take. We're gonna return to that when I put a pin in it and I'll make a note.
Listen, less than 10% of people still have beaten the game on Steam. So,
damn.
I'm not saying that these reviewers haven't finished the game, but I'm saying these reviewers haven't finished the game.
Attack mode.
I'm not wrong. Well, give it 2 months.
Listen, I ain't arguing. You put more time into the game than anyone. I notice, and this is, I don't mean to be mean. I see a lot of people spinning their wheels in Baldur's Gate, having a vibe like in the first 50 hours of the game, like in perpetuity, like, and then solid. They're like running the game back with different characters, like the first 50 to 60 hours.
Yeah, no, that's what's happening.
And I do. Yeah.
That's where the game is decent. The writing actually just kind of starts dying about partway through Act 2, and then in Act 3 it just falls apart. It's very bad. It's very bad. It is not good.
We're gonna return. We're gonna
and
return
it's
to that.
and it's like it's extremely buggy, and it's like game breaking buggy.
Mm.
Like actually, like very. There's a lot of issues, and it's also nobody thought it was going to be big. Larian didn't think it was going to be big. Microsoft didn't think it was going to be big. Sony didn't think it was. Nobody thought it was going to be big. Like they were anticipating like even like on their high end, I think they were anticipating like 100 million, like 100, yeah, like 100 million, 100,000. Like they were not anticipating a huge number. They're just like, yeah, no, we're gonna have like a modest amount. And that was not the case. That is not what happened. It ended up being quite large. And they were very overwhelmed by that. They didn't people talking about like, it's really funny. There's a lot of articles being like, Microsoft made a huge mistake. And I'm like, nigga, nobody thought that game was gonna be huge. Literally nobody. We're all, you know why? Because we're all fucking waiting for the next Dragon Age game, and BioWare's like got issues.
The other thing, Bacon just said something that like rattled my brain a little bit. It's that time as a commodity, you know, that's like the most precious thing that all of us have, right? And that's divvied up with so many things, games, life, whatever it is, whatever you choose to do. And the thing I think about too is that is this so much so, and I'm thinking about a comment that Doug, friend of the show, made on a Discord, is this so much that these things are fighting for our attention, or are we like focused on perhaps the wrong end of that? You know what I'm saying? It's like going back to FOMO. Yeah, that's the real thing. Yeah, people just operate on hype. But I think that the other thing about this as well is that as these things are fighting for our attention, they could be buggy, they could not do well, they could let us down in the third act, like Bacon mentioned. It's just those things that happen. You cannot like magic 8-ball that and just find out beforehand. I just think it's interesting because with all these different games, it's just like, I'm still of the opinion, it's like, hey, roll the dice, whichever one looks like most interesting to you. Why not?
Absolutely. Just play it.
Just play it. What's the worst that can happen? You get to like the last 10 hours of the game and it kind of stinks. Yeah, but you know,
we aren't conditioned.
Literally the last 70.
We aren't conditioned to make the most out of things we don't like, and that is like that is related to this. But I just find that that's a skill that we're lacking in as a people. Is when we don't like something, we like cannot find any redeeming qualities in it, or any way to really discuss it, and it's very strange. When something's bad, we almost like want to delete it from existence. And I think that when we spend our time playing something that turns out to be disappointing, we don't know how to turn the disappointment into anything meaningful. And yeah, it kind of affects how we interact with the game. And again, you run the risk of getting a lot of negative backlash from people who were just like, this game was slightly disappointing in the third act. Go to hell! And it's just like,
It was not slightly disappointing.
Listen, Callisto Protocol. I love me some Callisto Protocol. That shit was messy as hell. I ain't gonna lie to you. But there was value in it. But I get why people didn't like it. But I also, folks didn't handle it well. And again, that's a thing. What you say?
With BG3, I think it just hit a market that's goes a long time between content.
Right.
Because you're looking at the Dragon Age fan of BioWare. You're looking at the Skyrim folks. You're looking at like the long, heavy, um, high fantasy folks who also like to have like romance and narrative and choice and like custom characterization. The CRPG people, you're looking for like those people, and it's we're just waiting. There hasn't been anything. There hasn't been anything for a minute. It's been quite annoying that there hasn't been anything for a minute. We're just like, where are you? So like I think, you know, I think it just happened to hit like a very specific market that's been like waiting very patiently for stuff and just hasn't gotten anything. And with a mix of, you know, it was in beta for 3 years, so like it had information, like people knew what the first act was going to be, and also luck, it just hit a perfect storm. Which is also something that happens too. You can have like they're like fantastic, great, underrated games that just like don't get anything, and then they like suddenly get popular like several years later, and the devs are like, the studio's already dismantled, like everything's gone, and it's just like everybody's, well, like, what happened? It was a great game, and it's just like, well, y'all didn't buy it then.
Yeah.
And it just be like that.
Yeah, that happened. There was an old action racing game called Split Second. It was very good. I think it's still the best arcade action racer ever made. They sold it for full price, sold terribly. They disbanded the studio within 6 months, and then dropped the price of the game to somewhere between $10 and $15 everywhere. And then it had this huge resurgence in popularity, and the entire studio was just like vaporized. Like no one was tending to the game at all. And I was like, yeah, I think, I don't know. Where you put games has to be more thoughtfully deployed. This schmaz at the end of the year isn't it. It just isn't it. Like, given what the success stories emerge every year in gaming, this end of the year schmaz is silly.
October is such a weird place for it. Like the holidays, I get like October is so weird.
So October emerged because November was too hot. So remember, for a while, like, so Call of Duty like dominated November for so long that games started coming out in October. I don't know if you remember. Like for a while, games used to all come out in November and hover around Christmas, and then Call of Duty just established some type of idiot shooter dominance, and then games started coming out in October and September to get as far away from Call of Duty as possible. So that's where October came into play, if you remember. They were trying to avoid like the bro shooters were always coming out in November, and like Battlefields and the Halos and the Call of Duties and gobbling up all the market share. So it was like, I'm not going to put my survival horror game or my Sailor Moon fighting game out in November. I'm not going to do that. We're not going to feed it to Call of Duty, for God's sakes. So that's what I think. That's where I'm fairly certain that's where October came from, because I found myself asking the same thing, because this game schmaz starts earlier and earlier, pretty much from the end of August, where Baldur's Gate came out, and it just tries to get as close to Call of Duty without engaging it like a panther as possible. So
the thing that a lot of publishers, because of the way the market is now, is just that it's just not smart to release something near Call of Duty. It's just not, because the thing is, it still commands a large part of the market where that its sales are just going to dwarf. It just is what it is. Whether, you know, that there's just data that shows that it's just been that. Unless, like Bacon said, it, you know, you're a specific kind of game like Pokemon and you have a specific target demographic, you know, on the Switch, and yeah, you'll be fine. You won't necessarily have to worry about that. Regarding October, you know, October's been packed before at times over the years. the thing with that is that from what I can guess with the work I've done and reports I've read, it's just that it makes sense to just release something at that time for a company and keep it away from Call of Duty. So like over time, it'll perform however it needs to, and by the time the quarter is up, which is for some at the very end of December, the last day of the year, they'll report whatever they need to report, yada yada. But again, you know, if you have a game that's just so specific, has a different kind of, you know, base and target, I wouldn't worry about other releases, you know. Like I'm thinking about like Mario, for instance. So I don't know, but I personally would not release something towards like October, November, or maybe December.
I wouldn't even bother with December. I'd go with the January when everybody's got Christmas money.
Which is why January 2024 is like packed. So,
I mean, all of first quarter is packed. It's not even just January. It's like because of the genre of like 2A games that I play, March is the October of this year for me every year. The last 3 weeks of March, it like on clockwork, you can just see me screaming. Aaron should know at this point.
Oh no, I understand.
No, I've seen it. Yep, I've seen it. Yep.
Every
I understand.
fucking March, I'm like, what is happening? I need it. It won't be just like, because like in this case, like there's like a lot of games that came out, but like I was actually able to weed through them because of stuff. So it's like, okay, BG3 was like a necessity. I was gonna wait for it, and then somebody gifted it to me, and I was like super hyped that they gifted it to me, because I've had an equal amount of joy as rage at that game, which has been an interesting experience. And I get to use it as a character builder for my D&D group, for my D&D game. So like, I'm like, at the very minimum, I have the best D&D. Like, it's so cool seeing a black character. Because like, I don't even think the character creation menu is like that expansive. It's just all of the options are very good.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you have like a small selection of very good options, it feels bigger than it is. Because usually there's nothing. But if you look at it, there's actually just 2 faces per race that are like black people, and some of them are the same face. There's not a lot of face diversity, but you do have a lot of skin tone diversity, and it's very good skin tones. And there's like a handful of like textured hairstyles, like, and not all of them are good, but there's multiples of them. So like, again, it's not like expansive. There's just very good option. There's just a lot of very good options where we're not used to having any good options. So it's like, it's stuff like that. And then like with Starfield, Starfield was already going to wait, but then I found out about the motion sickness problem and the accessibility issue. And I was like, ooh, this is extra going to wait. Yeah. And might not be, because like, think, what is it? The one of the directors of Bethesda, like specifically of that team, was just like, we feel like leaving the bugs in there is part of the experience.
Well, the bugs in there are fine. That's what makes their game. But the accessibility stuff, they said they were going to add in, and they were going to throw that stuff in there. They apologize for that. Now, the bugs, they're like, nah, our game is fucked, but we make it fashion. And then they went on to explain that they were going to add accessibility stuff, FOV sliders, things like that. So
yeah, I'm like, no, I do get motion sickness in video games, and that motion blur, like if you went through the Reddit forums, like not even just the Reddit forums, it was Reddit, Steam, like all across the board, there are people who are like, I am throwing up.
Yep.
There was actually a substantial amount of like very unhappy motion sick people who could not play the game. So I'm like, cool.
It's always very odd.
I don't need to.
tight
I actually
FO,
don't need to touch this.
tight FOVs cause motion sickness. They just do empirically, so I just find it weird when it's not an option. You're gonna cause major discomfort for some people, and I just don't understand why you would do that in 2023. But the game had to come out, I guess.
Palia actually makes me motion sick. Palia also came out, which is a cozy MMO, and that one's got like, it's very much a beta. I'm having a lot of fun, but it's also a game I can play with other stuff. Like I can kind of the nature of MMOs is I can continue playing it. Oh my god, this cat.
Wait, Palia makes you sick?
Yes, Palia makes me sick, but they have an accessibility feature with a crosshair that you can just have in the middle of the screen, like not middle, but like on the horizon middle thing. So like what it does is you kind of like focus on the crosshair. So it actually helps with motion sickness.
See that right there, that's cool. I did not know that. That's very cool.
Yes, that's what that crosshair is for. It's for motion sickness. Aaron's making the thinking face.
Well, no, I'm just thinking about the actual like how do we, is it a them problem? I'm thinking about just game releases, whether it's something we're not taught to process or whether it's something that they're doing that's silly, that is taking advantage of a extremely stressed out populace. Because it's the same. I don't know. It's just like I've just been thinking about that while you were talking. Because we're approaching the same problem with streaming services. You know what I mean? Where it's like there are so many options, and I think
honestly, the problem with streaming service to me is that they're all trying to go back to the cable model because they're all trying to get money instead of just being a fucking streaming service. And it's like I'm not having 16 streaming services to get rid of cable.
Right. Right. And it's just
I will have one, maybe two, and Netflix is trying to like cancel the password change. Like I'm like, y'all are gonna have to figure this out.
Right. I'm just wondering whether like all these options and essentially operating on consumer FOMO is starting to like buckle, like putting so much weight on applying pressure to the consumer is starting to buckle, whereas the things that we like are things that are for the most part not applying any pressure to us at all. Even the shows we like, it'll be like some Korean mystery that gets hot on Twitter and everyone's watching this Korean mystery drama thing and no one said anything, except unless you're in Korea, but everyone else here, we didn't say anything. No one said anything. And it's kind of like, we're now kind of like, it's the AA game released in June model. Whatever that game called Up was it called Up Above, where you were just climbing? Like, I think that got deleted from Steam because we were leaning on the one guy who made it too hard. So he was like, fuck this, I'm cutting the game off. But that game where that boy climbs, where you're playing as that kid and you just climb straight up as far as you can until you get to the end of the game.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, so I'm just like, it's very clear that we are not handled, that we are, the returns on this are, and it's always weird. So when you see something that fails, like Callisto Protocol, you always hear something ridiculous like
Only Up,
right? I was thinking about Up, but Only Up is Up, and then Up is that Pixar movie.
It's a very adorable Pixar movie.
It's a fantastic movie. And it's like the publishers thought that they were going to sell 3 million copies of Callisto Protocol when only 2 properties sell millions of survival horror or anything. It's Dead Space and Resident Evil. That's it. And Resident Evil is batshit, so I don't call it whatever. Resident Evil is its own thing. And again, it's like there's just such a disconnect between what is being sold to us and how, and who we actually are as consumers and how we're changing. And
okay.
Go on.
It actually got removed from Steam because of copyright violations.
It did at first, and then it came back. If you look again, the actual dude was like,
oh, due to the amount of stress.
Right. If you look, because it got taken off originally for copyright things and then put back on, but because everyone keeps leaning on the one dude that made it, he's just like, fuck it. He pulled it. He was like, nah, y'all niggas. I'm one dude. Like, y'all, please. I'm one guy. Leave me alone.
One person.
I'm one guy.
Indie game.
Right. But again, that was the game. That was one of the games of the summer. Just a game where you was a boy in shorts climbing up. You know? So, yeah.
The thing is, as wonky as that model is, it still works out for a good number of companies, so that's not really going away.
But does it allow for, so it works for the juggernauts who it works for. So you can be like Call of Duty, you know, if Call of Duty is a kaiju, then so is Mario, so is Pokemon. So they can go fist fight over the city for as long as they feel compelled to. They're capable. But for so many other games, it's not.
No, it's just not.
It's just not. Like, you know, like it's like, you know, you can. It's just very interesting. And the games and I find that more games have more success just avoiding it. Like the Dead Space remake avoided all the Callisto Protocol nonsense just by coming out in January. Just casually came out in January. Everyone loved it. I mean, it's a very good game and is better than Callisto Protocol. But it just came out in January. That's it. January 27th. Last week of the month.
I think, and that's the thing too, just some games, it's like you said, just a look at the draw kind of thing. It's just like for example, I think of that game that came out during what was it, June, July, Sea of Stars. That in one day that sold like 100,000 copies, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot of games of that size do that. They don't, right? And then it sold like 250,000 and whatever the number is at, and a lot of games just don't make that. You know, that doesn't happen for everybody. It's just one of those things. And I think the best like going back to earlier question about us as consumers is just that I mean, we all respond differently to like FOMO. Me, I just have a general disposition of, man, I really don't care because I have to like read all these reports and listen to all these CEOs and blah, 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 blah on my end. So I'm not going to say apathy on my end, although you could say that. But for me, it's more just like, the machine's operating, right? But then I also think about like what that's like for like indie developers whenever I have the opportunity to talk to them, to interview them, and how they think about things. And that's different for them. And they also have to think about when they release what makes sense, yada, yada, yada. So it's different on that end. But for me personally, it's just like I'll see a thing, whatever, and I'll be like, oh, everybody's playing that. Good for them. I go about my business. Because what's going to happen is that I'll like come into work and then I'll see that, oh, said game sold millions in 6 months. And I'm like, yeah, they did a lot of PR for that. They're a big publisher. They had commercials. You know what I'm saying? I'm much more interested to see what you two are like playing for the time being, just listen and read. I find that interesting. So
I'm gonna be playing Sea of Stars and Solar Ash once I figure out how to play that game without getting motion sick. I was playing Solar Ash right before the podcast, and like I said, I made the grave mistake of eating leftover Chinese food that was only partially agreeing with me. And then I got through the first boss of Solar Ash, that dragon motherfucker, and I had to just lay on the floor for a minute or 20.
that game may not be viable. It only gets worse.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to see, because
the movement, the scale gets bigger and the game gets more unhinged. as you
Well,
play. So.
There's different things that trigger my motion sickness.
Mm.
So it really could have been I just ate before playing. Like if you have motion sickness and you eat before getting into a car, you're gonna have a bad time. Like I don't drink coffee before I go on the bus. Or if I do, I like drink coffee right after I get off of the bus, or like I be taking like the tiniest of sips. Because coffee will set off my motion sickness.
Mm.
Because the only place I don't get motion sick is trains and boats, which
really
doesn't make sense for people. Yeah,
boats?
I'm fine. Yeah.
Boats.
Yes. I have sea legs.
So you need like that deep undulation. Like that's the problem is when you're in a car, it's like when you're in a car and a bus, it's just like vibrating.
Air conditioner, like the air going through like machinery stuff. So that's like it's not being on a plane that gets me motion sickness. It's how the air gets processed that makes me motion sick.
100%. Yes, that is.
And so it's the same in cars. Like the second you turn on the AC, I get sick. So I can't. I get another thing that makes summer really difficult. Like trying to take an Uber anywhere. Like I have the window like rolled down. They're like, I'm gonna roll up the window and turn on the AC. And I'm like, my dude, I am going to throw up.
Yeah, I get that. It is. It is why
I'm like back down the window.
Yeah, that's why flying is unpleasant for me. Just because the recycled air is it just doesn't sit well.
Well, it goes through. I can't remember. It goes through a thing and it picks up stuff on the way that are harmless, but it makes me sick. It gives me a headache and it makes me sick. And like also too, like once the headache happens, it's just downhill from there. So the way I handle that is I just go to sleep. I have like I'm now like a robot where I just like we get in the car, we cross our arms, we put our head down, powering down.
Yep, that's what I do.
Out. Right. Immediate reaction. Same on the planes. I get on the plane, I get into position, and gone.
I mistreat myself before I get on planes. Like I don't eat. Like I make sure that I'm tired and prepared to go to sleep. Like I'm not no food, no caffeine, no nothing. I get on the plane, I sit down, I'm asleep before it takes off. So I totally get that.
Yeah. So like with Palia, it would just be like I'd be playing the game for like an hour, and then the motion sickness would kick in. So then I had to go through the settings to figure out like what's like what's like not triggering the motion sick. Sometimes like just looking away from the screen for like 10 minutes fixes it. So once I figure out what the exact trigger is for Solar Ash, I can figure out how much longer I can play it. Because like I can play games like Shadow of the Colossus without issue.
That's so odd because that game is all screen shake, whether you're on horseback.
I played the shit out of Mirror's Edge.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it is not consistent on what triggers my motion sickness. But I did look at Starfield, and it was like if you get like a tinge of motion sickness, you will be unhappy with this game. And I'm like, bet. I will come back to you later, sir.
So I think we are approaching Jeffrey's time. So we're going to see if there's anything you'd like to add before we release you into your mentally engaging, culturally enlightening afternoon.
Thank you both for having me as usual. I really appreciate it. I was glad to talk.
I'm just sorry I wasn't as engaging because of this monster.
The whole time I was talking to They always feed Dynamite just to make sure Dynamite doesn't like pop off their desk during the podcast. So this whole time, while Bacon is like talking, making these good points, we see Bacon is like petting Dynamite just to make sure we didn't hear a random thud during the podcast. I want everybody to know that.
Yeah.
And then she kept like trying to jump on the fucking desk.
She actually looked. She was like reaching out at your face while you were talking one time. That was very funny. Reaching out while you were
Niggas like,
talking.
what are you doing? I'm making a point. We're not playing patty cake. Oh my god. But nah, like yeah, you know, try to have fun, whatever that means to you during these interesting times that we live in. On the subject of like, you know, if anyone ever wants to be more active in like an organization, whatever, you know, I found that you don't necessarily like have to be the person that's like at the big event or does all the talking. You can find where you fit in. Like me personally, I found like, oh, I'm kind of good at public facing, like, you know, statements and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is something I can work on, you know. So, you know, if anyone ever wants to be more active and you find an organization that works for you, always remember there's many different ways that you can help. You don't necessarily have to be there. You can just help being at home, whatever. That's cool. Also, if you don't feel like going to work, you have PTO. If it's an option to not show up to class, just take it. Why not? You're tired. You don't feel like it. It's okay.
Take care of yourself.
You know, you're a human being.
Bruh. Class starts Tuesday. I have 3 quizzes on Monday.
What?
Please explain. Exactly.
Nah, your professor tripping. What the hell?
I'm like, go to sleep, professor. Go to bed.
I mean,
3 quizzes.
before the class starts.
The day before class starts.
Now, are they online? Can you like look at them? Because then you can just look up
Yes,
the answer.
that's how I opened up Canvas and that's where I saw it.
Oh, then just look up the answers online and answer it and knock them out.
Oh, it's not that kind of quiz.
Oh, it's like personal responses. It's not like multiple. They want personal responses before the class
so
starts.
like one of them's like a quiz on chapter. There's a quiz on chapter 1. There's a quiz on the syllabus, and then there's another quiz which I like. By that time, I checked out on what the quiz was about.
Okay, yeah, that's nonsense.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, no, but I just thought it was funny. Sorry, like that's clearly a person who needs to take a break.
no, yeah.
If
Take a
you're
break.
that kind of person, please take a break.
Yeah.
You're a day off.
No, for real. Take a break. But yeah, take a break. Do what you gotta do. Yeah, have fun and do things that feel good for you, that you know, recharges your battery, whatever that may be, because some weeks are harder than others, some days are tougher than others, but one day at a time. And yeah, that's it for me.
All right. That is our show.
Wait, read books or listen to audiobooks too. Stay informed.
Read books, listen to audiobooks. Try to have fun despite the FOMO-based advertising crunch. Don't buy all the games if you can't. And if you can buy all of them, have fun, but don't expect to beat them.
And don't buy a game that you're not actually interested in just because people are talking about it. Don't do that.
Don't buy
That's
games.
how you also get disappointed.
Yeah,
Buy the
don't do that.
games you actually want
Yeah.
and are interested in.
Yeah.
Mic drop. That's it. We done.
Have a pleasant day, everyone.
Go ahead, stand your
All right. One more thing though. We're gonna do a little bit of an experiment here. Apparently, Bacon, Justin, and Bap have gone on a role-playing adventure, and I wanted to play a little bit from you for everybody at the end after the show is over. Bacon, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
So a few months ago, I found a game on Steam called Wildermyth. and it went on sale. And it's a very, like, we talked about it a little bit on the show, but it's a very simplistic kind of tabletop RPG simulator kind of thing. On the surface, it looks very simplistic, but like you can like make a character, and there's and you can control the settings and how your character looks. It's very like storybook, like watercolor storybook picture art kind of style. So it's not an in-depth character builder, but you can. What the in-depth part is setting your character's personality. Like you can actually get really, really in there, and setting your character's personality will show how they react to certain situations. And there are a lot of different stories in this game. Like there's some, if you use mods, you can play like a lot of other people's stories too. It's all very community content friendly. They even have like community content stories in the base game. And so what we were doing is we're playing through a campaign, me, Justin, and Bab of Wildermyth in this D&D-esque, tabletop-esque game. And we're reading the dialogue that like shows on the screen because y'all can't see it. We can see it. We did do a video recording though, which will be on the Patreon.
Yes, and it's one of the, we're experimenting with the stuff, so we're gonna play a little audio videos on the Patreon, and yeah, we're gonna keep going, but just wanted to kind of let everybody in on some new stuff we're doing. And yeah, are you guys gonna play Wildermyth more?
I think so. We're just gonna have to figure out, like, gotta align the parent schedules and the full-time student schedule. But the sessions go like a couple hours, so it's not too bad. And like many a campaign, if we don't finish it, it's okay. It's all about the enjoyment we have while playing it. And I'm actually excited because Justin has like seen how into the weeds you can get with it. Like, because you don't have to get in the weeds. You can just take everything on the surface and just go play and have fun. But there are so many settings like that you can get into to really customize the experience. And he has gone all in on that and is starting to do some of his own writing for it. And I'm a little excited.
All right. So, yeah. Thank you guys, and enjoy the listen.
So, we're about to play Wildermyth.
I'm so
Fun.
hyped.
So, as we play Wildermyth, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to give a brief overview of what Wildermyth is. Wildermyth is a game on Steam. It is a tabletop-esque game. It's told like a story, and all games are stories, but what I mean is it's told like an actual book that you would read. There's the aesthetics are very like it's like you're turning a page as the scenes progress. Your characters look like storybook characters, like they're drawn into a storybook. It looks incredibly detailed, right? Like for the level that it is, it's 2D sprite or 2.5D sprites, but there's a level of care in this that is just, once you see it, it's really, really dope. And when I say tabletop-esque, you make your character, you can make your stats, you can make your backstory. It's very D&D-esque, but it's not D&D. The combat is simplistic. It's simplistic and easy to grasp. If you've played a tactical RPG before, you know what to expect. The real places where Wildermyth shines is the narrative and the random scenarios and the role-playing elements within the game. So what we are going to do is we have Bacon, the proprietor of AddSpace. We have Aaron Bapp, the proprietor of the Black Astronauts podcast. We're all going to play Wildermyth. We're each going to have our own character, and we are going to go through this story. And I am excited to see What happens, we're all going to have exclusive control of our characters, and as we recruit more characters, we can divvy up who actually has control of them. And we hope you enjoy the show. We'll be going through the first story in Wildermyth called The Age of Ulstrix. It is a 3-chapter story that is geared towards new players face off against the implacable Gorgon leader, Ulstrix. Let's get to it.
I love everything you just said.
Yeah, no, same.
Also,
go ahead.
I wanted to say, my name is going to be Finling from now on. And I'm going with the fact that my mother just liked the letter N. So there you go.
There it is. This will be a carved in stone game. If we die, we die.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No mods. I have not gone through the mod section. One thing I didn't mention though is Wildermyth has an extensive modding community, and a lot of the mods are custom scenarios and custom events. As you play the game, random events will happen, and if you look at the writing credits for Wildermyth, you will see a lot of different names, and every time a random event pops up, you can see who wrote the event. One thing I'm actually working on now that I have a good grasp on how to create events is I'm writing out my own scenarios and events. I think that will be a lot of fun too. So yeah, but this will be a no modded run.
Yay. I mean, I have no issue with mods, but Steam
All right.
makes it.
So we're.
I was gonna say, yeah. So Steam makes it so that if you use mods, you don't get achievements, and it's the worst.
Yeah.
I need achievements.
All right. So we're now at the character creation screen. Aaron will be our warrior. Bacon will be our rogue. I will be the mystic. And yeah, there's the part where we create our characters.
Yeah.
So I. No, we're
First
gonna
of
go with a
all,
random name.
we're
The
going
boar-
to do this.
Oh, age 18. I like that. So age actually matters in the game because time progresses and your characters get older and they can actually retire. So I got an 18-year-old. Yes, that means I can actually probably have this character for all 3 chapters. His name is Boar. We're changing that. Jote South, man, no. Thale Bogust. No.
I need to get rid of this facial hair. Absolutely the fuck not.
I'm just not finding somebody I like. Oh, never mind. Never mind.
You can make somebody you like.
I know. I just wanted a nice base. I'm not as creative as y'all.
All right, cool. So, yeah. I'm just going here doing the name randomizer. Like, I'm not just going to make my own name anyways. There we go. Stardrick. I like that. So, of course, he'll be tall. So, the other thing you can do with this, with the character creation, is your characters can all have relationships with each other. They can be friends, they can be rivals, they can be lovers. So, you will see a thing that says who your character is attracted to. That matters because that determines what kind of events you can get within the game.
I love that there's random romance.
Yes.
It's so great. It's so great. All right, I think I'm good. Hold on.
Oh, I have to. I will not be. I'm gonna have to go like into the stats.
Nim
Yes.
yarns. Oh, I like
Oh.
that.
Your characters can also be non-binary. Your characters can
Yes.
be gay. Your characters can be pansexual. Unfortunately, there is not an option for asexuality.
I know, unfortunate, but it's okay. I'm gonna have some purple hair. I have purple.
You know what? I'm gonna be a little bit taller, cause you know, for canon's sake. I like that it has you have the ability to change so much, and it's so simple, right? Like
Yes.
it makes you want to go like, okay, I can dig into these stats, and it doesn't seem like it'll be too much to build a character.
All right. If I'm gonna be a mystic, we gotta have dreads. We gotta be a dread mage.
Not a dread mage.
Look, what mage you know doesn't have dreads or long hair? Exactly.
They could be bald. Is there a way to tell the voice?
Also true.
It's got to be a way to hear it, right? Hold on.
Uh, A is a higher pitch, B is a deeper pitch,
I'm gonna go B.
if I remember correctly. But that only comes up in combat.
Okay.
Okay. Stats look all right. They look okay. I'm not really. Now personality.
There we go. The personality, these are the only stats I'm going to mess with.
Yeah. Like, wait a minute.
Loner, absolutely. Okay, so hold on. We're pushing that leader all the way to the top. We are not a loner. We're pushing that all the way to the bottom. We are not a loner.
Try to remember where it is. There it is. There's the personality.
Oh, I'm absolutely not greedy. No. Let me. What? No.
No, I am.
Oh, this game is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I'm not a loner.
How do you get your points back?
What point?
I'm down here in the actual stat sheet. I'm in the wrong place. Oh wow, it has your history already.
Yeah.
We should read these are wow. Wow. Is this all random? This is the first
Yes.
time I've seen this. Wow.
Yeah, it is very random. It's also very funny. Put.
All right. So your hooks are 3 random things that affect the kind of event your character will be involved in. So in addition to the personality and your personality, you can be a leader, bookish, romantic, healer, goofball, hothead, snarky, poet, coward, greedy, or a loner. Those affect what kind of events you can get. Your hooks are just the additional traits about your character.
I'm almost done. Almost done. There we go. Nice little messy bun.
I was gonna say, can
Yeah,
you
messy
change
bun.
your hook?
Yes.
Yeah, you can go in and change it.
Where do I change that?
History.
Oh, there it is.
Are we reading our histories out? I mean, I don't know if we are streaming or not right now, but some of these histories are really like well written to be random. Wow.
Yeah, I don't mind reading mine. It's pretty funny or cute. Let's see. I'm naming mine Larkspur. The rumor was that Larkspur was born with it, a weird leaf-shaped jewel. They clutched it while they slept, and it always gave them comfort. Though even they couldn't say why. From curt tales they told of life on the road, odd jobs, and strangers treated them poorly, left few good memories to dwell on. They claimed to seek only peace. Peace, of course, was a tricky word to pin down.
That was great. Great.
That's actually pretty dope.
Yeah, that's what I said. That actually makes sense. So the story of Nim Yarns, which again, I'm really feeling that name. The plateau where Nim grew up with her aunts was always hammered by winds that carried seeds from afar. Some of them grew into strange foreign trees, and some of them may have rooted in her chest. Typically, she was found to be at sweaty taverns throughout her youth, trading insults, kisses, fists, and flagons with other sweaty patrons. Perceiving a world full of short-sighted people, she decided to forge a path forward and settle debts later. Huh. I like it.
I love this.
Yeah, this game is great.
All right, let me go into Shardrick Helm's history. Skilled at forging compromises, Shardrick could only credit a childhood among brothers and sisters who had a penchant for teasing and horseplay. A rough, strong beast hunter took him under her wing, taught Shardrick all she knew about seeking dangerous prey. Also, something of a passion of lonesome people. He sought out a balm for the pains of life, walking in the company of strange lands and people.
I love this so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what else can you say? That's literally randomly generated. Like, come on, guys. Like, y'all, come on.
No, it's so good.
And the character. This is why we can't play Baldur's Gate, because we've been in this little itty bitty character creator for like 25 minutes.
Oh, joke's on y'all. When I finally get Baldur's Gate, I'm gonna pull a bacon and just spend like the first day making a bunch of characters for different campaigns.
I don't think he can. Can you? Don't you? You can't import your character. You have to do it at the screen, right? Like you have to do it as the game is started.
Unsure, because they just made a patch where like a person can just jump into your game or not.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
So
You're right.
I don't know how long that's gonna be like a permanent thing. I think they're making multiplayer more friendly. I just think the game was released unfinished.
Yeah, there's a possibility that they had to get it up out of there before Starfield.
I mean, honestly, I don't think they should have, but I am deep into Act 3, and the further I go, the more like jank it is. It's wild. I had a fight where like the cutscenes after the fight, like people weren't wearing shirts, and like
Nice.
yeah, and you know when they're like it's like it looks like that texture is failed, so like where a shirt would be, it was just solid block of color, like the white people were all just red, like straight red, and then there was like a brown person where it was just like it was just straight brown. No,
I wonder if that last patch did something because
no, I've been because with every bug I find and every issue I find, I go down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
Of Reddit, and like I do research on all the bugs, and no, that one's before that patch. They got a lot of work ahead of them.
Yeah, I only said that because I got the mermaid armor recently, and it's been bugging since I put it on Jahira. Like just straight up bugging.
Yep.
Like I don't know what's going on. Anyway,
there's 2 pairs of shoes. Like I found a pair, and Cthulhu, one of my FC mates, found a pair where it just like made your legs vanish.
Oh, that's great.
It's hilarious. I'm just like, this game is so jank.
Yeah, I haven't made it into Baldur's Gate proper yet. I've just been on all the outskirts. So.
If you're playing on PC, I'm going to recommend that you make it the highest priority on your computer.
Oh my God, it's been killing oh my God, the memory leak is ridiculous.
Like, go into your settings and just make it Baldur's Gate 3 highest priority, and it'll help smooth some shit out.
It is bad. Like every couple minutes, it just hits.
It's gonna be bad in Act 3.
Like I'm in I'm in Act 3. I'm just around. I haven't made it into Baldur's Gate proper. Like I haven't been over any of the bridges.
Yeah. So, without spoilers, there's earthquakes, and those.
Oh yeah, you can see those.
Right. No.
Yeah.
But the earthquakes have an additional effect on them.
Really?
Yes, they do. There's an additional effect on the earthquake that you can visually see, and I think that's part of what the earthquakes are very intense, and then you have the earthquakes combined with all of the people around. So
yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's now that I know exactly what visual element you're talking about now. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I would go into your computer and for the resource allocation, put Baldur's Gate 3 on highest priority, and that helps a lot.
Thanks for the advice, boss.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
All right, we're ready. I promise.
I promise.
All right. So I want to see what happens if you click start.
I don't have the ability to.
Let me look. Yeah, I think it's just you, buddy.
Okay, cool. So now I know for the future when y'all are ready, you can just mouse over the start button, and I can see that you've moused over the start button, and then I. Can
you can see all the. Can I see your mouse? Yeah, I can see your mouse.
Yeah, it's really trippy.
It's really just this book.
Ooh, I'm gonna click read along with the leader.
Me too.
All right, I'm the leader. This book. There's room in it for another story. It's cold. I'm stuck here. Maybe I don't survive the night. Then these words are for my friends. If you find me, be brave. Nim. Larkspur. This is a warning, but where do I begin? Here in our yondering country, something in the woods is very strange. Hugged along by the gentle desire to see friends, a young woman named Nim takes the seasonal road to the town of Pebbleking.
That's Aaron.
I wonder how many of these soft-glancing townsmen remember me. Well, I guess I'll just have to do something memorable this time.
Breeze is light that day. Birds are timid. In fact, the whole world is taking a breath, ready to leap into the sea.
I'm there already, huh? Here's the hard part. Getting Larkspur out of bed will probably take the rest of the morning. Listening to their morose little comments and also, that's smoke.
Fluttering flames roost among the far-off rooftops. Nim hurries towards town, thinking of Larkspur, a young person whom she's known since girlhood. Now we have our first choice. Nim must choose their relationship with Larkspur. Are they rivals? Are they friends? Are they lovers?
What? Nim? We're probably friends. We're just friends. We're not rivals. Larkspur, you alright? I'll get you out. Just make a little noise.
Constructing mission.
Constructing mission. Oh, wow. I'm just in it. Okay.
You gotta go
I'm
to
over here.
Gotta go to my house.
I mean, yeah, I guess we do, huh?
My house is on fire.
Clearly. You're not doing well. Come on. Open the door. Their house still standing, at least. Larkspur. Fire out here? You're not sleeping, are you?
She doesn't know. The door unlocks.
Why, no one.
Larkspur shoves it open.
Hey, do you not smell the...
I smell the smoke. Get inside. Slamming the door shut.
I like your haircut, by the way, on a side note.
I know, isn't it good?
Your bow.
Yeah, I'm not trying to shoot out the fire if that's what you're about to say. Actually, there's...
Is that Godzilla?
It's a something. A monster in the garden. So yeah, I'm very annoyed.
Staying in here isn't really an option.
Right. So here, I've got some tools around. You're stronger than I am. You can swing something pretty good. I bet we can at least drive it off.
Now, Nim chooses her weapon.
Oh, you know what I'm going with. This is for cooking? Why'd I grab this?
Plus frying pan.
Plus frying pan. It can be killed, right?
Just be ready when you open that door.
All right, let's get to it.
The row has been added to our foe card deck. So the way this works is the game board has a deck of enemy cards, and we have just added an enemy card to the deck of available opponents for us. That's going to matter later.
You coming out or?
I think we go this way, I think.
Yeah, we go that way. I'm sorry. Up.
Also, the cool thing about this, you can move your characters at the same time. You don't have to wait on one another.
Yes, which is great.
Super nice. The enemy's been revealed.
Look out, it's the road.
And it leaves poison. Oh, yeah, it's about to get bashed in the head with a frying pan.
Oh, it dodged.
Shoot the motherfucker. Oh, shit, I
There you
crit.
go. Crit. Oh, I'm about to.
It's okay, I got it. Dead.
One thing I do like, it doesn't matter which character gets the kill. Everyone gets the same XP.
Everybody gets it. Nim Yarns is now a greenhorn warrior. Warriors like Nim are built hardy, enduring with a natural aptitude for battle. They develop powerful techniques for close combat. Let's see. Oh, Blood Rage, sure, absolutely, I'll take that. It's a passive. My melee and my range attack to deal more damage based on the percent of health I'm missing, up to 4 damage. So I'm gonna be at low health all the time.
Hilarious. Do this really quick. I'm just adjusting my volume really quick.
Oh yeah, maybe I was a little bit louder than I.
No, game volume actually. Okay, Larkspur has grown stronger. Hunters like Larkspur thrive in the wild, surviving through stealth and peerless archery. They master their surroundings and bring down large quarry. A rogue passive. Every time Larkspur kills an enemy, they enter a gray plane for free, becoming hidden. Ambush is they draw back using a ranged attack on the first enemy, dealing 2 extra. Hunters that threaten tile, dealing extra 2d damage if the shot is not sprung. Get a free attack at the beginning. Or Ember arrows when standing next to a fire.
Ooh, that's good though, because LJ could use that by having fires everywhere if he's a mage.
I mean, I do like fires. Oh, salvage? No, but we don't.
Chance? Yes. Which one of you wants to crit?
Oh.
Well, yeah, Larkspur has to crit. That's not even an option.
Oh, I have to give it out. Just kidding.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll take the sash.
Okay, so the next bit is a bit of feedback from you all. You can hit us up on X Twitter on UN Fridays. You can also hit me up on at Freeman at unfpodcast.com if you want to just let me know what you think. If you want more content like that in the future. If you feel super strongly, you can hop on the Patreon at patreon.com/unfridays. But for the most part, just wanted to hear what you think about forays into all different types of gaming. And whether you like audio, video, what's the preference? Let me know. Okay. Have a pleasant day.